So with our efforts to protect our activities from being edited by someone who isn't the host, we've inadvertently introduced a bug because we've now wiped any attendee information from our activity. Now, why did this happen? If we turned off the isHost requirement, and let's just prove the point, and we'll go back to the activities controller. I'm just going to remove the authorize policy, just comment it out for the time being. And let's just make sure that we can edit an activity normally with any user, regardless of whether or not they're the host or not. So I'm just going to create another activity with the current user as host, test event with Bob as host again, just click send. We know this functionality works and we get our activity. Let's go to the activities and get the new event where Bob is the host. And let's go and find this in the list. And test event with Bob as host. And let's just copy the ID into our clipboard. And if we go and edit the activity again with the one that we've just created, I'll just paste this GUID into the URL and just click on send, and we get success. And if we go and get the activity and I paste this in and click on send, then we've edited our activity and we've still got the attendees and the host username there as well. So it's purely down to what we're doing with our isHost requirement. And if we go and take a look at the code that we're using inside our isHost requirement class, then why has this happened? It all comes down to this line of code. And when we're getting our attendee objects from Entity Framework, this is tracking the entity that we're getting. And this stays in memory. Even though our handler will have been disposed of, because it's a transient, it doesn't mean that the entity that we've obtained from Entity Framework is also going to be disposed. This is staying in memory. And it's causing a problem when we're editing an activity because we're only sending up the activity object. And in our edit class, we're not getting the related entity, and we've got an activity attendees object inside memory for that particular activity. It's that combination of things that is making our activity attendees disappear from the list. So what we want from this is we need the attendee object, but do we need to keep it in memory? Do we want Entity Framework to track this in memory? Well, no, we don't. And there is a way that we can get around this, and we could specify as no tracking. And we'll need to bring this in from Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Unfortunately, this does not work with the findAsync method. FindAsync is always going to track an activity or an entity, and we cannot use as no tracking with the findAsync method. So what we'll need to use is single or default async. And then what we can do is add the expression, and what we'll say is x goes to x dot app user ID, that equals the user ID, and x dot activity ID, that is equal to the activity ID. And we still get the results, of course, obviously. And this will resolve that particular bug. And what we'll do is we'll go back to our activities controller, we'll put in the authorize policy once again. We'll head back to Postman, and what we'll do is we'll just create, in fact, let's take a look at this one again and send this activity. So we'll work on this one, and Bob is the host. So once again, I'll go and get the ID of this activity, and we'll once again attempt to edit the activity as Bob and paste in this. And if we click on send, then we get 200 OK. Bob is the host, so we'd expect that. And if we go and get the activity details, then what we'll find is that we haven't lost our attendees. Now, of course, the other important check is that we edit the activity as Tom, who is not the host of this activity. And if we take a look at the headers here, we're going to send up Tom's token. So what we'll do is we'll update the URL and paste in our activity where Bob is the host. And if we click on send, then we get a 403 forbidden. And that's what we're looking for. If we added Tom as an attendee, let's just do this test as well, and we'll paste in the GUID into this URL, and we've got the attend on the end here, so let's get this in between there, and we'll click on send so that Tom is added to this activity. And if we go and get the activity details and click send, then we can see Tom is inside there, but Tom is not the host of this activity. And if we try this again and edit the activity as Tom, the same one, click on send, then we still get the 403 forbidden. So only the host of the activity can edit an activity, but anyone else can go and add their attendance. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate it because there's no need. We're not covering deleting an activity, but you can go ahead and test a deletion as well if you wish to do so. And we're almost done for this particular section, but what we want to do before we leave this section is update our seed data so that all of our activities have attendees, and we'll take a look at that next.